Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
Yo, Dog Katie Boucher here, The Long War, joined tonight by my partners in crime, Wyatt Turk and Mike Haspil. How's it going, guys?
Greetings and felicitations.
Yo, what's up?
We don't have Rob tonight. He had another mishap, but he's here with us in spirit. If you're watching the actual video on demand of this, he's in the bottom left corner of our screen.
Do you have like a Sleestack picture up for him or something?
I have actually a candid photograph of him from his house.
Need to find a like real life copy of like the Lusty Argonian Maid and give that to him for Christmas one year.
We should. Now, it's unfortunate because a lot of things have happened this week on the exact day that Rob had to bow out again. I know he's kind of sad that he's not here, but Drukhari, a lot of leaks have hit the internet. We've seen units, rules, stratagems, pretty much everything.
Yep.
So tonight we're going to definitely cover the new stratagems in our meat and potato section, our actual Warhammer 40k section of the podcast. We'll have Wyatt from the Memorial Desk, and Mike Haspil assures us he's got a truly epic Haspil's Corner.
It's not even something you can argue with because it's that dumb.
Beyond contestation.
It's just stupid. It is just dumb.
And if you're watching the After Hours version, you got a sneak peek of what it might be about. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, the Would You Rather for tonight is really stupid, so it's apt. Well,
all right.
We'll just kick it off with that.
Let's do it. Roll out Wyatt's Cable Wonders.
Would you rather be able to fly at 10 miles per hour by flapping your arms really hard, or be able to squat crab walk at 60 miles an hour?
Squat crab walk.
Like
backwards, like.
No, you're like side to side. Like you gotta
walk like Zoidberg
and then walk side to side. Yeah.
But at 60 miles an hour?
Yeah, you can go up to 60 miles an hour, yeah.
Oh my god.
Or you could fly at 10 miles an hour, but you gotta like flap your arms really hard.
Is how comparable is crab walking at 60 miles an hour to like sprinting for me now as a human dude?
The fastest human is like what, 27 miles per hour?
Yeah, I was going to say like most regular people have a really hard time trying to get up to 20 miles an hour. And then if you look at like Olympic, like 500 meter runners, like, or sprinters, like they might be able to clear 25.
Yeah.
So is crab walking at 60 miles an hour physically that straining for me? Like it's that hard. I got to really put some effort into it. Or is it just kind of like my new normal?
I would say it's like, it's proportional to like how far you go, kind of like how the Flash works, where like you would burn like calories proportionate to how long you were running at 60 miles an hour.
I'm totally picking running at 60 miles an hour. I'm going to be thin in like 2 days.
Now flying, flapping my wing is really hard.
Yeah, equally hard calorie burning. Yeah, like same rule would apply.
So it's not like I could just casually flap around the city. Like I was walking, it'd be kind of an effort at all times.
Yeah.
What if I want to just kind of flap around at 1 mile an hour?
I mean, that's up to you. I mean, you'd have to.
Can I generate lift relatively low effort, but forward momentum is what takes more power?
Yes.
I'm flying. Wait.
I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch now to flying because I could just like float.
Wait, that's what I was asking. Like maintaining, like treading water, is it about as difficult as treading water, or is it easier? Is it more like?
I don't know. Like treading water is not the same thing because you have natural buoyancy. So like, gravity would have something to say to that. So because like a bird has a really hard time hovering unless there's like some thermals they can kind of ride on, right?
So if I could like kind of pop around at really low speeds and it would take a proportionally less amount of effort.
Yeah.
Just like crab walking.
Yeah.
I always wanted to fly. I feel like I'd do flying. Preposterously while flapping my wings, I would fly.
I think I would pick flying too then.
I just can't make crab working work for me. Like It's not going to be, even though I can go 60 miles an hour, I don't think can I withstand an impact at 60 miles an hour?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I should keep this one like relatively out of the realm of like superhero resiliency.
Right.
So, I mean, like, yeah, if you're into a wall, I mean, like a car going into a wall at 60 miles an hour.
So you're not sustaining an injury from you going 60 miles an hour, but if you ran into like a wall or whatever.
Yeah. Like your muscles and tendons can like withstand the strain of running. Yeah. But yeah.
But so am I like as good at crab walking as like a crab is, or am I like still kind of shitty at it like a dude would be, like a person?
I mean, I would say that it would be up to each individual and their like, their kinesthetic prowess.
Yeah, I feel like my situation is real bad, and I would die crab walking the first day I was fucking around. Like I stubbed my toe like really bad a lot, as is at normal speeds because of my lack of situational awareness. I'm certain to kill myself with the crab walking power. But I would definitely just like at like 2-3 miles an hour, just like kind of float over to the Starbucks right over there real quick. You know what I'm saying? Float right back. Oh my God, Kilty Neal broke it. He's like, fly because you can crab on your enemies for 1,000 feet in the air.
I saw that too, and I was just like, man, that you'd have to have like a lot of like hand-eye coordination.
No, you fly naked
to like constantly keep your arms like flapping, but also like work the abdominal muscles to push that out.
Some people don't have to work as hard as other people. Like for me,
it's true, I guess.
It's more work to keep it from happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, you just eat like more Cinnamon Toast Crunch and sea salt vinegar chips, and it would just shoot right out.
Ooh. Honeycombs.
It wasn't Cinnamon Toast Crunch though. It was even worse. It was more preposterous than that.
Oh, it was honeycomb. Yeah.
Honeycombs.
I was thinking of Cinnamon Toast Crunch because a mutual friend of ours posted this Twitter thread of somebody who found like shrimp tails in his bag of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and also like mouse droppings. And then General Mills like tried to gaslight him by being like, no, those just accumulations of cinnamon and sugar. And so then it became this like huge roller coaster thread of like
on their Twitter,
the people against General Mills. It was insane.
Tell me that's not like the worst thing.
I'm like, when he said honeycombs the first time, I was just like, they don't make that cereal anymore. Like, I just immediately was like, that didn't happen because they don't make honeycombs, but apparently they do. So
yeah, it's kind of like making your own trail mix. You know, you can get like Chex Mix and some nuts and things. It's more like that, but better, like honeycombs and salt vinegar chips. But
but
you had like some legit radioactive poops.
It was I ruined this house for about 48 hours. If like I was gonna sell this house and then we had like 2 scheduled like open houses that day, I would not have sold this house no matter what.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Step Brothers. If you don't want to sell the house, that's what you do.
Oh my God, that scene in Step Brothers is ridiculous. Oh my God. That's a good one, Wyatt. Thank you for the kind of funny, goofy, would you rather?
Yeah, let's switch it up. Like next week, you'll probably go back to soul crushing. Yeah. or it might be lighthearted. Who knows? You know, the Jin is a fickle boy.
For sure. Well, let's do it. Now, we don't have Rob here, but he did pass on his notes to you, right? For the Rob Baer Memorial Desk.
Oh, yeah. I got it.
Yeah. So while Wyatt's getting that up, Battle Foam having big old sale. Up to 50% off. Only this weekend. So if you're like listening to us live, that's one day already.
I'm writing it down. Sunday. So I'm going to go spend a lot of money over there. Because I want to be able to pack my Silent King. Just on principle. Pro tip, you know what's handy is if it's 50% off and it also extends to other things on their website up to 50% off, they're cardboard boxes that fit their foam or even they're kind of pricey, but like they're really handy. They are very handy for storage. That's kind of what like I just made the note just because like, I need more of those. Like more of those boxes. Yeah. Yep. And I did also figure out a way to get my 2,000 points of Death Guard inside our, 428 that we like? Is that what it's called? Is that the number?
I don't remember.
Haspil, the one that you can carry on the plane, like it's super easy.
Pack 432.
432, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were talking about. I was like, what? But my favorite case that they have right now, well, they don't have the case. It's the GW case or my knockoff Harbor Freight cases that I plugged the other day with the skirmisher foam in there. And Battle Foam does carry the skirmisher foam. The skirmisher foam fits perfectly in the GW hard case. And it leaves you a little bit of room to spare in the Harbor Freight cases. That's my favorite case right now because it's like you can lock those, you can check them, not even have to worry about it.
Pro tip. What you got, Wyatt?
We get a whole bunch of stuff coming up on pre-order this weekend. A lot of Lumineth Realm Lords models, some of the cool models we've been waiting on. So we've got the Huracan Wind Chargers, plastic box for $60. Those are the kangaroo knights that ride the giant kangaroos, those guys. Also got the Venari Blade Lords for $60. Got a hero, which is Lyrior Uthrail for $55. Then we've got Severeth for $55. Got the Venari Star Shard Ballista for $50. Alania and Elithor for $45. I think that's the two, like the sword fighter and then like the dancer that's like a one piece, like the twins on one base kind of thing. We've got the Huracan Wind Mage for $35. The Venari Banner Blade for $35.
Yeah, cats.
Oh my god, he grabbed my little piece. The Venari Banner Blade for $35, the Sinari Caligrave for $30, the Sinari Lore Seeker for $30, and then they've got the Shrine Luminor for $60. And then we've got some books. So they've got the Battle Tome for the Lumineth Realm Lords, which is a $40 book. And then a new Broken Realms book, which is titled Techless for $40. And I believe they put out a like infographic saying like, what do you need? Like, so if you already have like the Battle Tome from when they released like the big box set, they had the Battle Tome in it. Like you don't need this Battle Tome. So like if you want more rules, you get Broken Realms. And if you don't have either, you should get both of them. Let's see. And then they have Horex Dreadlance for $115. I believe that's a one of the new box sets they're putting out with this new like a get started basically. Just trying to remember like which faction the Dreadlance is.
Dreadlance?
I can't remember. But yeah, one of the new box sets. Cause like it's the ones they're putting out is a Nurgle Demons one, which is called the Invidian Plague Host for $90. And then they have the Zintel War Magi for $80. And I believe that one has like some wizards and two of the like wagon wizard construct gun things. I don't know what these are called. The like these big telescopes and like mage things that are drawn on like horse carriages and stuff. So like that's what that one is. And then they also have one that is Mortvel's Hell Court, which is some like ghouls and Morghast and that one like vampire Batman guy that was like the individual character in one of their previous 2-player boxes. And so it looks like the Dread Blades or Dread Lance is Ossiarch Bone Reaper cavalry guys with a mounted character.
The Boner Reapers.
Yeah. Also the War Scroll cards for $25, and then some novels that are coming out. So they've got the Vampire Genevieve, which is a $21 novel, and I believe that one is part of the Warhammer horror series.
I think so, yeah.
By Kim Newman.
Oh, I have not heard of that person.
Yeah, so the Vampire Genevieve, it's a Warhammer horror omnibus.
Oh, okay.
And it says, so by Kim Newman. Then we've got Luther, the First Fallen, which is a Dark Angels book. I'm not sure when this is supposed to take place. It's Horus Heresy, so a Horus Heresy novel about Luther.
Okay.
And then we've got The End of Enlightenment, which is a Age of Sigmar book about the new Lumineth guys. Like there's a crazy cool like Lumineth wizard dude on the front doing some magic, that kind of thing. And also like audiobooks of those as well. As well as they're doing like a second run of the Marnius Calgar comics with alternate covers on them. So they've been showing those off every week. So now they're putting out number 2 with like a new variant cover of it. And then I think
collectible.
Like next week or the week after that is going to be maybe another one because there's 5 out right now.
Huh.
And then they also announced some things like some new Horus Heresy stuff with a couple of Word Bearers characters where they've been doing that thing where they have like one sort of like Legion commander in like tactical armor and one Legion commander in Terminator armor for all of the different legions. So like they're doing that for the Word Bearers. And they also announced that they're doing another Bandai Primaris that's painted like the White Scars.
Yep.
And you can do the pre-order on Bandai's website for 1 week only starting this Saturday, kind of like the other ones. Cause I think right now they've done the Ultramarines one, an Imperial Fists one, and a Salamanders one.
That sounds right.
Now they're doing the White Scars one. Yeah. And then they also showed off some screens from one of their in the works animation projects called Altar of Wrath, which looks to focus on Black Templars. So you can check out some of those. They have like a helmet and a Space Marine head and like a Crozius and a assault cannon. So they're kind of showing off it. Yeah.
Dope.
Because Altar of Wrath is one of those like very photorealistic style CGI productions. So it's like super cool to kind of see a very like realistic render of a battle scarred Space Marine. Kind of neato. And then that's it. That's all we got.
Yep.
The news. Compelling. Prices. Things. I am stoked on the Black Templar project, though.
Looks cool. It might be, I don't know if it's supposed to be Grimaldus. I haven't read that article, but the helmet they show off is, it's some guy. His name is Aristarchus. Yeah, Aristarchus. Who's like, I guess he's a chaplain.
Yeah.
Well, that's fucking hype. I always liked the Black Templar fluff, and I've always wanted to make one, but like, I like bright colors. So,
and I told myself when I had like Raven Guard, I will never play an all black army ever again. And here I am with Death Watch. But the difference is I discovered a different paint. So they're not, my Death Watch aren't black. They just look black.
Mike Haspil is going to be throwing down some how to painting black is secretly easy tutorials.
Well, I don't remember the name of the Prochrome paint, but it's like something
dark neutral gray.
Dark neutral gray. The paint that changed everything for me, it's called like German gray or anthracite. From Vallejo. Yep. And it looks black, but until you put it next to something that's actually is black, then you realize it's not black. But on its own, they look black, but they'll still take washes. You can still weather it. You can still do all kinds of stuff with it. And it's amazing.
Gives you just enough runway to still make dark things darker.
Yep. It's very nice.
So, Mike Haspil promised us epic.
Okay, so this stemmed from a discussion that happened first on Facebook from a friend of mine. And it kind of spiraled out of control from there. And it became like one of these shower thoughts. So he was talking about regressions, like not regressions, recursions in time travel. So you're going to have to like go with me on a couple of assumptions that you got to make. So like Doctor Who, and this is all pop culture based. This is not physics time travel. And, so it's like in Doctor Who, they have these things called fixed points in time. So these fixed points in time, those things are going to happen. There's really not very much you can change. But when we talk about recursions, we're talking about like if you go back to do something, even if you don't interfere, the very act of that, of you being there has now changed things. So as time moves forward again, if you consider that there's like a big random number generator in the universe, the odds of things happening exactly the same way again are not going to happen that way. Just because you went back in time and that didn't happen the first time, right? So an example that he brought up was Terminator, like the original, and just pretend that like Terminator 2, Terminator 3, all those other ones don't exist. The only thing we have to go on is Terminator. So the idea behind it is that, you know, Skynet in its desperation, because John Connor is beating them. Skynet in its desperation sends back a Terminator. But before that happened, right, Sarah Connor was just a normal lady who was a waitress who met some guy who had a kid named John Connor who, through whatever circumstance, got the training he needed to beat Skynet. So then Skynet sends back. So that's the first way it happens. Then Skynet sends back a Terminator, right? They have the time displacement equipment. They send back a Terminator, right? So the Terminator is immediately, to the people that are in the future, like John and Kyle Reese and whatever, that Terminator is immediately successful because it goes back. Sarah doesn't know anything about what's going on. It kills everybody in LA that's named Sarah Connor. So it succeeded. So, however, the destruction of Skynet and Skynet sending somebody back in time is a fixed point in time. So Kyle Reese, John Connor can't send Kyle Reese back in time because he ceased to exist because his mom got killed by the Terminator. So somebody else sends Kyle to stop the Terminator. But at that point, they don't know what the Terminator's mission is. They just know that it got sent back in time. So now Kyle goes back and he's able to stop the Terminator, right? But in doing this, he doesn't know really who Sarah is. He just knows that Sarah is the target of the Terminator. So he goes back in time, stops the Terminator, and meets Sarah for the first time. Then he doesn't know anything about her. He hasn't fallen in love with her or anything. Right. So now we follow that entire timeline back forward. John Connor would now be back. Right. So, cause he does survive because Reese went back and saved his mom. So then Skynet sends the Terminator back. This time when Kyle goes back, because Sarah survived and she knows about the Terminators, right? She trained John. Mm-hmm. She gave John the picture. So now Kyle is actually in love with Sarah because and Sarah Connor is this huge legend because she trained John. And now he's got the photograph that he fell in love with, that he goes back in time and actually becomes John's father. So there's like four recursions of at least before we get the Terminator movie that we saw.
Oh, I see. So like
so it's a loop that repeats itself. So like there's a really, really popular anime called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Right? Oh yeah. And then like when you get into it, especially when they've been releasing these new like films to be addendums to the show, like Ava is a loop. It keeps constantly repeating. And so like the show that we saw when that initially came out, that's like just one of the loops. And then like these movies, those are different loops. And there's all these Easter eggs like scattered throughout it that like this isn't the first time we've gone around this loop, right? So it's sort of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and using Doctor Who as our baseline for how this works, right? Just so we can open the conversation with things that I know about. You have now convinced me 100% that Terminator 1 is like essentially Terminator 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have like the other iteration where the Terminator succeeds and kills John. And then they have.
Well, then they send him back. Yeah, and then just
no. So like in the newest Terminator, the story is that the Terminator goes back and succeeds and kills John as a teenager. Like they send another Terminator back and they find him hiding out in Mexico and they kill John. And then it turns out that like through a series of events without John Connor being there, the new girl, I forget her name, but she becomes like the
because the destruction of Skynet is essentially a fixed point in time.
Exactly, because the destruction of Skynet is a fixed point in time. So it doesn't matter if John Connor does it or not.
Yeah. Just as a sidebar, that movie's actually pretty okay.
The robots forgot to call Doctor Who up and talk to a Time Lord.
Oh well, Doctor Who would have deprogrammed Skynet with a fucking sonic screwdriver, like in the
and
first
it's not
film.
necessarily just tied to Doctor Who. All we were talking about was like a fixed point in time,
right?
That no matter what happens in this, you're going to have the rise of Skynet. It may be accelerated, right? Because like the first time Skynet comes about, they didn't send a Terminator back in time, so it happened. Sarah Connor probably died of old age before it even came up. Right? Yeah, but then once they send the Terminator back, then if we start acknowledging the other films, which we said that we weren't going to do, but then it accelerates the timeline for Skynet because the Terminator's there. Miles Dyson gets the Terminator stuff, accelerates Skynet. So now instead of happening 40 years in the future, it happens 20 years in the future.
So what if John Connor being the leader of the Resistance is itself a fixed point in time? So let's just say like on the first go around, like it goes back and it kills all of the Sarah Connors in LA. Like, what's to say there wasn't a Sarah Connor in like Boulder, Colorado? It turned out to be John's mom.
Right.
Yeah. With that, and then like through the changing of.
It's funny because some of this is sort of low key explained in the one that got stricken from the record by Cameron that he didn't make.
Yeah.
The one where Arnold,
Doctor Who was actually in.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yep. Where, Arnold came back again, and it was Nick Stahl playing John Connor. Sarah Connor was dead. Skynet never went online, so he kind of gave up on the whole quest. But he still stays off the grid, and he's like, chill. What's her name? Claire Danes is in it.
Terminator 3?
Is that Terminator 3? Yeah.
I thought it was the one where they go back even further. They send a Terminator back to protect and train up Sarah Connor.
No. Terminator 3. No. The Terminator 3, like when James Cameron came back and did the one with Christian Bale, he basically said like that didn't happen.
Oh, like, then yes, that was 3.
He said 3 didn't happen. Fuck that.
That movie made me eat crow because I went to go see that thinking it was 100% going to.
I fucking love that movie.
And I honestly can say that I have not seen a single Terminator movie that I thought was bad.
That movie, because that movie brought up a lot of things, kind of like when John Connor's like it never happened, but I stayed off the grid. He did all these things, and then he had the Terminator, the new Terminator was fighting. And then when they went into that military base and everything to go destroy Skynet, it's like, nah, it's cyberspace, bro. Like it's the cloud now. Like there was no stopping Skynet. Like, and it was like
Claire Danes' dad is like a general at the Air Force who's in charge of making the new like.
So she's the contact, and it's like I was like, this is kind of a hype fucking ending. Like
it's kind of weird because so John has this knowledge, forethought of the future. But she doesn't. So he knows that you're supposed to be like my wife in the future. And she's like, well, you're a fucking crazy guy living in an RV and I want to leave now.
Yeah. You literally, I found you in a vet clinic, taking dog pain pills, dog. You're fucking gross and skeevy. And tell me that end wasn't hype when they were there in that crystal mountain fortress with all the old tech for the high, that's all EMP proof and shit. And
that was the dope one. Cause there was that scene where they go to Sarah's grave and Arnold pulls out the coffin and it's actually just full of guns and grenades and ammo, and he comes out with a minigun and just
bro. Yeah. When I don't know, that's one of the only movies too, because if you remember the opening of that movie was the planet getting covered by nuclear bombs as the voiceovers occurring, and then that's also the last scene of the movie. Yeah. As it's occurring and he's in that bunker and all the little fucking radios start popping off and they're like, who's in charge out there? What's going on? And he's like, I am. And they're letting the bomb go off and just die. And then he like stops the bomb and he's like, I'm in charge. What's your name, son? John Connor. And I'm like, oh, and then like fucking, Cameron's over here like, fuck that movie. I'm like, really? Really?
I know it's kind of sad because
the movie was sick.
I believe they did have plans to continue on after the Terminator 4, but God, I'm having a brain fart in his name. But the young actor who was playing Kyle Reese, like he died in that automotive accident. He was also like Chekhov in the new Star Trek films.
Oh, and Anton Yelchin?
Yeah. So like I think they had plans for like a sequel, but because he died, that kind of
yeah.
It's like the Christian Bale one was actually pretty good.
And somebody in the chat mentioned Back to the Future, and it's like I want to kind of do the same thing.
That reminds me. So I learned something that I never noticed, and I've seen Back to the Future like a billion times. And so like there's in the first one, there's a scene where like spoilers for a film that's like 30 years old, but so Doc is like selling plutonium to these like Russian mafia dudes, and they fucking kill him.
Libyan terrorists.
Yeah, Libyan terrorists. And then so Marty goes back, and he ends up on the first jump being on this like farm, and he runs into this pine tree before he crashes into the barn and gets out in the hazmat suit, and the people get all scared because they think it's a spaceman. Mm-hmm. But then when he goes back, he's running to the parking lot with the foreknowledge of what's happened to save Doc. And I never noticed that the mall was called Twin Pines Mall.
Yeah.
And then when he goes back, it's called Lone
Pines Mall
because he ran over one of the Twin Pines. And I was like, oh my God, I never even noticed that was it.
There's a lot of little Easter eggs like that throughout the whole movie. It's very, very
just
cool.
blew my mind. I never picked up on that either. I'm like,
they'll probably remake that.
But
soon.
And this comes up often though. Epic rap battles of history. Doc Brown versus Doctor Who. What are the sickest ones of all time? What are the sickest ones of all time? All right, you want to do it? Drukhari, all the stratagems. Now that we know,
let's do it.
Now,
the spice.
The spice.
Oh, do you want to go over this Book of Rust real quick before we do Dark Eldar? Because we have the Army of Renown for.
Oh yeah, we got to hit that. We got to hit that. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I have the Army of Renown for the Terminus Est Assault Force, which is the like all infantry force that Typhus leads from his flagship. And I don't know, like this information might be out there because I haven't really been keeping tabs on like any reviews of this book from like YouTubers or anything. So like, we're not going to talk about whether or not the Armies of Renown are like usable in match play or whatever. We're just going to talk about what this contains. So it says, a Terminus S Assault Force is a Death Guard Army of Renown that eschews vehicles in favor of plague-ridden infantry forces that can deploy into the heart of battle directly from Typhus's orbiting flagship. On these pages, you'll find a list of restrictions required to forge such an army and a list of additional rules and benefits that such an army gains. So one of them is the Fester discipline, which is a new psychic discipline that only this Army of Renown can use. So it's one of them is Gift of Infection, has a warp charge of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. Subtract 1 from the toughness characteristic of models in that unit. This is not cumulative with any toughness penalties incurred from any contagion of Nurgle abilities.
Huh. Sad.
I mean, it is a way to like put that out there 18 inches away, like in case because you don't have vehicles, right? So we can't like boost up a Rhino or a greater blow drone to like pop contagions on people.
That's true. I mean, that's true.
Then they have Lung Rot as a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the psyker until the start of the next phase. That unit cannot advance. Each time that unit is selected to charge, only eligible units within 6 inches can be selected as the target of its charge. And each time a charge roll is made for that unit, it cannot be re-rolled.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
It's pretty neat. Then we have Pernicious Dose, which is a blessing. Has a warp charge of 7. If manifested, select one friendly unit within 6 inches of the psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack with a plague weapon, you can re-roll the hit roll.
Cool buff.
Noxus Noxious Discharge. Has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit that is within 12 inches of and visible to this psyker. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and all units within 3 inches of that unit suffer 1 mortal wound, excluding Nurgle units.
What's the warp charge on that one?
6.
All right.
Kind of okay, yeah.
Pretty fucking decent.
And then they have Rot Wind. Has a charge of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of this psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, reduce the AP characteristic of that attack by 2 to a minimum of 0.
Okay, some interesting powers.
Yeah, some cool targeted debuffs. And then they have Accelerated Entropy. Has a value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy model within 12 inches of and visible to this psyker. Both players then roll 1d6 and add their model's toughness characteristic. If your result is higher than your opponent's, that enemy model's unit suffers 3 mortal wounds. If your result is double your opponent's or more than double your opponent's toughness, that enemy model's unit suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds instead.
That's a couple of interesting powers.
Yeah, that one is easily the strongest Witchfire.
Yeah, that's a strong one.
Okay, so let me get into the army-wide stuff. So it says restrictions. Your army cannot include any units with the vehicle keyword. Your army cannot include Mortarion. All units in your army must be Death Guard, and if they are from a plague company, they must be drawn from the Harbingers. If your army includes Typhus, that model must be your warlord. If Typhus is your warlord, he gains the Harbinger of Death warlord trait in addition to any other warlord traits he knows. And then the benefits. All units in your army gain the Terminus S Assault Force keyword. You have access to the Terminus S Assault Force warlord trait, relic, and stratagems. Death Guard psychers in your army can generate their psychic powers from the Fester discipline. And Terminus S units in your army gain the Outbreak Assault ability described below. When placing Terminus S Assault Force units into strategic reserves, do not use the table in the Warhammer 40k core book to determine how many command points it costs. Instead, the command point cost required to place Terminus S Assault Force units into strategic reserves is shown below. So it has power rating and CP. So like 1 to 9 is 2. 10 to 19 is 3, 20 to 29 is 4, 30 to 39 is 5, etc. If a Terminus S Bubonic Astartes unit is placed into strategic reserves, then in the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, instead of arriving from strategic reserves as described in the Warhammer 40k core book, you can set up that unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models.
So you can kind of bypass the turn counter for how that modifies the placement.
Yeah. So it basically changes it to like a universal deep strike rather than a outflank. Okay, so then they have the Harbinger of Death warlord trait. This is parentheses aura. While an enemy unit with a leadership characteristic of 7 or less is within 3 inches of this warlord, that model's unit cannot make use of the OBSEC rule or similar abilities, and that model's unit cannot perform any actions. In addition, while one or more enemy models are in range of this aura, add 1 to this warlord's attack's characteristic.
It's interesting. So some of those like reducing people's leadership things can matter.
Mm-hmm. They've got a handful of stratagems, a handful of relics. So don't really have time to go into like every single one of those, but they get 4 stratagems, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 relics you can choose from.
It's pretty fleshed out, honestly. Like it's a little bit more fleshed out than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's almost like this is like a supplement just for the Harbingers Plague Company.
Yeah. Interesting. Like it definitely feels like specialist attachments of the past, but more fleshed out. Like it's, instead of like, here's your one thing and your other one thing, it's like, here's like here's a way to play, a more specialized version of the Harbingers,
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I got no beef with it.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if they're making it usable for match play. I know it references a lot of core book stuff, but I know the GT book stuff. So that's a question. Like that confuses me because it's like, okay, it says I ignore the core book, but what about the GT book?
Yeah, so, it's impossible to tell this what the intent is at this moment. But as far as like a little handy set of fleshed out abilities, like I'm not disappointed with that.
Yeah, because the book comes out this weekend, right? That's when it releases.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some BDSM elves.
Mm-hmm. Let's get caught up.
The most evil 40k faction. I love it. So we've talked about the raiding force. 3 patrols. Refund all the CP. We've talked about the real space raid attachment, which is, take a little bit of everything, get some cool bonuses. We've talked about how you can upgrade your HQs for points, turn kind of like a chapter master, quote unquote, upgrade for all of your HQs that gives them a cool bonus. The book is chock full of like bespoke warlord traits for the Cabal, Covens, Witch Cults, all that fun stuff. They have like build your own Cabal, Coven, Witch Cult stuff. Yep. Super cool.
Check your own obsessions, basically.
Yep. So let's talk about some stratagems. Here we go.
This is what I'm excited for.
Oh, there's some fun ones. And my favorite one, it's not really like that good, but I like it. We'll get there. All right. Cruel Deception. This is 1 CP or 2 CP. Use this in your movement phase when a Drukhari unit from your army falls back. You can select for this unit to be eligible to shoot this turn or eligible to declare a charge this turn, or both.
Sick.
If you select both, this stratagem costs 2 CP. Otherwise, it costs 1.
That's a fucking very useful stratagem.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah. The Great Enemy. This is their one when fighting just Slanesh keyword stuff.
Oh, classic.
So, in your movement phase, when a Drukhari unit from your army falls back, you can select. Oh, I just read that one. Use this stratagem in your fight phase when a Drukhari unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack against a Slanesh unit, you can reroll the hit roll and you can reroll the wound roll.
Classic.
Yep.
Don't forget about it when you're playing against Slanesh.
Yeah. Then they have the Torturer's Craft. 1 CP or 2 CP. Use this stratagem in your fight phase when Urian Raykarth or a Homunculus Coven unit from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you can reroll the wound roll. If this stratagem is used when a character or Rax unit that contains 10 or less models is selected to fight, it costs 1 CP. Otherwise, it costs 2.
Reroll the wound.
Reroll the wound roll. Yes. Well, you can use it on all Homunculus Coven stuff, including your characters. But if it's used on a character or a unit of Rax that contains 10 or less models, it's 1. But if I were to say use it on a unit of 20 Rax, it would cost 2. Or a unit of Grotesques, it would cost 2.
Rerolling the wound is really strong, so I like that.
Yeah, this is a good one, especially if you're doing choppy.
Feel like I'd be using that.
Yeah. You have lightning fast reactions. Makes a return in this. Use this stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase. Yes, -1 to hit. I mean, I was going to make sure that it didn't have like some weird shit. See, no, it does. You cannot use this on Urian Raykarth or Homunculus Covens. It's only Drukhari Infantry, Drukhari Vehicle, or Drukhari Biker, but it excludes Urian and Homunculus Coven.
Yep.
A little bit more restrictions. That's been the trend of 9th edition.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about some of that at the end. Hunt from the Shadows, 1 CP. Use a stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase when a Drukhari unit from your army that has the benefits of light cover is selected as the target of a ranged attack. Till the end of that phase, add an additional 1 to that unit's saving throws, excluding invulnerable saves.
Definitely a couple of survivability traits so far. I like that.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our requisition ones. So we have Alliance of Agony. 1 CP, use a stratagem before the battle. If your warlord is a real space Raider Archon, select 1 Succubus and 1 Homunculus model from your army, excluding named characters, and determine 1 warlord trait for each of these models. And it says this must be a warlord trait it can have. So, no semantics about pulling traits from different tables and stuff.
So you can
only
one
use it
CP, you can give it out. You can give it out to two people.
Yeah, it specifically states like you cannot give a model 2 warlord traits. Like they're adding in these things.
But you can pick. But for one CP, now you're going to get.
Right, so this is specific to a real space raid.
Cool.
Detachment. So you have to have an Archon, a Succubus, and a Homunculus in that detachment, anyways.
Yeah.
So for one CP, all 3 of your guys get a warlord trait. Yeah, super cool.
Which really does. Which
is nice.
Which is really showing you the theme of like this triple patrol where that costs 0.
Well, so the real space raid is any detachment that has a Archon, and it has to have an Archon, a Succubus, and a Homunculus. So I believe that's only 2 of them. It's a battalion and a brigade are the only 2 that can have 3.
So you'd have to have. So if you have a battalion and you have 2 patrols, the patrol's still 0 CP.
No. So that's a different one. So you have it's if your army is 3 separate patrol detachments,
it's 0.
then all of the CP is refunded. Yeah.
But if I take a battalion, if I take a real space battalion, this guy's my warlord anyway, it's still 0.
Yes.
But and then I'm gonna get some stuff I want for cheaper. So like I like that.
Right.
So I like that they're not. I like that. That's you can play either way.
That's the other specialist thing is like the real space is you have to have the three things, and the other bonus is that all of your units get an obsession based on what they are. So all of your cabal gets that, etc.
I like this real space, real space raid force. Like this is sick.
Oh, it's super fun. Yeah, it's cool. And we have tolerated ambition for 1 CP. Use a stratagem before the battle when you are mustering your army. If your warlord has the Drukhari keyword, select 1 Drukhari character from your model, or Drukhari character model from your army, excluding named characters, and determine 1 warlord trait for it. This must be a warlord trait it can have. That model is only regarded as your warlord for the purposes of that warlord trait. Each warlord trait in your army must be unique, if randomly generated, yada, yada. And you cannot use a stratagem to give a model 2 warlord traits. You can only use the stratagem once unless you are playing a strike force battle, in which case you can use this stratagem twice, or an onslaught battle, in which case you can use it 3 times.
That's sick.
Yeah.
So going back in time, someone off on YouTube says, actually, as long as you have only patrols in your Drukhari, it's 0. Is that the situation?
Yes, that's what I'm
saying. So you can have like
I was just clarifying that it's like one of them is like patrols only, and then the other one is this.
So you can do 2 patrols and still get the 0 CP situation. I like that.
Yeah, but it has to be only. You can't do like 2 patrols and a vanguard. It has to be all patrols.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have one more requisition. Do you have a question?
No, just also in the YouTube chat, like hearkening back, Andrew says that he asked on 40K Facebook and they responded that the Book of Rust was match play.
Okay, cool. So now we know. Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Cool. Because I mean, that book also has like, it expands the Cult of Strife. It has Mechanicum Knights. What else? So Mechanicum, and then it has another one just for Metallica. And then it has a free blade lance, 1 for House Raven, Death Guard, and Cult of Strife.
See, right. I like what Local Raven is saying. I was suspecting this. He was like, so if you run 2 patrols and your warlord still gives you plus CP, you're starting off with like 14 CP. And I'm like kind of sensing that. I was like, ooh, we're actually getting a lot more CP to play with than I'm used to, like with some of this. So
it depends. Like some stuff like awards additional CP. Some stuff refunds the cost of it. Mm-hmm. So like in the most basic thing, it says like if your warlord is part of this attachment, it refunds the cost. You don't gain any extra. But there's things here and there in various factions that can like generate additional ones. So yeah, so like you got to be cognizant of the wording. If it says it refunds the CP, but it costs you 0, refunds 0. Yeah. So you got to be cognizant of the wording. That is a trend with this book is that like they have lots of CP to do nasty things with. Yeah. I'm feeling that. Prizes of the Dark City. That's our, relic one for 1 CP. Mm-hmm. Get the relics. All right. Then we get into Webway portals. So this is 1 CP or 3. Use a stratagem before the battle, declaring reserves and transports. If you are playing a mission without this step, use this stratagem during deployment instead. If you spend 1 CP, you can set up 1 Drukhari infantry, biker, or beast unit from your army in the webway instead of placing it on the battlefield. If you spend 3 CP, you can place 2 Drukhari infantry, biker, or beast units in the webway instead. If the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can set up any units in the webway anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. You can only use the stratagem once.
Love it. Good classic Eldar shenanigans.
Pain Siphon. Use the stratagem when a Drukhari unit from your army that is within 6 inches of a friendly Chronos unit destroys an enemy unit with a melee or ranged attack. Until the end of that battle, that Drukhari unit always treats each battle round as if it is battle round 5 for the purposes of the Power from Pain ability.
A little situational and requires me to do some things I might not want to do, like with my faction or my obsession people.
Yeah, but it can be cool. It can,
Oh yeah, undeniably powerful in a scenario that you want to use it.
Yeah. Eviscerating Flyby. 1 CP or 2 CP.
Love that name.
Use the stratagem in your movement phase when you select a Witch Cult unit that can fly to make a normal move or advance. After this unit has moved, select one enemy unit this unit moved across and roll 1d6 for each model in this unit, adding 1 to the result if the enemy unit is an infantry unit. For each result of a 5+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If the selected Witch Cult unit contains 5 or fewer models, the stratagem costs 1 CP. Otherwise, it costs 2.
I like this because this reminds me of that old, like where they would grab slaves. Like way back in the day, you could fly over a unit and grab slaves out of that unit, and it would basically kill a given number of that. That's what that's.
Yeah, I mean, this
harkening
is
back to.
Tailor made for our Hellions to fly over.
That's
stuff.
what it's harkening back to right there.
Yeah,
yeah, so
that's
it's
kind of cool.
super nasty.
20 Hellions on hoverboards throwing their nets on people and scooping them up.
Yep.
I'm with it.
So they just made it mortal wounds this time instead of
right. So then we have Never Stationary for 2 CP. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase after making attacks with a Drukhari unit excluding aircraft units from your army. That unit can immediately make a normal move of up to 7 inches. Till the end of the turn, that unit is not eligible to declare a charge.
Some fire and fade.
Yeah, basically fire and fade, but with some restrictions to it.
Yeah. Powerful stratagem.
Prey on the Weak for 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase or the fight phase when a Drukhari core unit from your army is selected to shoot or fight. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, if that attack targets a unit that was below its starting strength when this unit was selected to shoot or fight, reroll a hit roll of 1. If that attack targets a unit that was below half strength when this unit was selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll the hit roll.
How many CP?
It's 1.
What?
1 CP.
Situational, but powerful when you need it.
It helps.
Yeah.
Screaming Jets, 1 CP. Use this stratagem before the battle when declaring reserves and transports, etc., etc. You can set up 1 Drukhari vehicle unit from your army in the skies instead of placing it on the battlefield. In the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can set up this unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. You can only use this stratagem once.
So using default rules of the core book, you can put dudes in a raider and destruct the raider.
Yeah, for 1 CP.
Damn.
It's just like the restriction for like what you can hold in reserve is now like pretty high. So you have some units that can natively deep strike, and then for all the ones that can't, it's like they're limiting how many units you can put in the webway, and they're also limiting like how many vehicles you can do this with. So basically it's like you can do 1 raider or 1 venom or what have you.
I like this.
Deadly Rivals, 2 CP. Use the stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Reavers unit from your army and 1 Hellions unit from your army that are within 12 inches of and visible to each other. Until the end of the turn, add 1 inch to the movement characteristics of models in these units. And each time a model in these units makes an attack with a melee weapon, you can reroll the hit roll.
I like that. I like the description of that, and that's neat. Like I like these wordings and like
Yeah, I mean, it's really useful. I mean, you're probably going to have Reavers and Hellions in most of your lists if you're going to run those models anyways. So it's like a 2 CP buff for 2 units. So it's like 1 CP for each unit. Makes sense. Yeah, pretty strong.
So I'm looking at it, yeah.
Swift outflanking. Use this stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select 1 Drukhari transport unit from your army that is wholly within 9 inches of any battlefield edge. Remove that unit from the battlefield. That unit is placed into strategic reserves.
Ooh, I love those power. I love that power.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Murderous Descent for 1 CP. Use a stratagem in the reinforcement step. After a transport unit from your army is set up on the battlefield, any units embarked upon that transport unit can disembark after it is set up, but when they do so, they must be set up more than 9 inches away from any enemy units.
Cool. So that's pretty fucking cool. All right. There's some mobility in here.
Yeah. And so like in these newer books, the reinforcement step is getting more and more stuff like within it. And some TOs have ruled this stuff a little bit differently. So you might have to like see what they're doing. But the way that I read this is like, if I have a unit in a raider that comes in my reinforcement step, because Auspex stand also happens in the reinforcement step, you can like try to bait out Auspex scan or a similar ability. And then when that's done, you can just be like, here's 1 CP, these guys get out.
Yeah. So be aware of that, right? Like multiple things. Yeah. No, that's
because like, so, and the reason I say that is because like normally you can't get out, right? But, because of how the order of operations works, like some people allow Auspex scan to be like, okay, you set that up, right? And then those people get out, and then like they can use Auspex scan on the unit that gets out. So you want to try to like bait that stratagem.
2
out
things that
you
say they happen in the same phase, right?
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah.
So
like I said, like some people rule that differently, and it's
so if the Auspex scanner has all the agency of the phase, and you have to do yours at some point in the phase, and he just waits to the end, he's going to be able to get to use his Auspex scan on the unit.
Yeah.
So you have to,
if he waits till
so you have to be clever and like try to like kind of confuse him, kind of just move some stuff around, kind of do this and try to get him to fucking Auspex scan the tank and then distract him and then get the guys out.
Yeah. All right. Pray they don't take you alive. Love this name. This is one CP. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when an enemy warlord unit is destroyed by a melee attack made by a Drukhari unit from your army. Till the end of the battle, each time a combat attrition test is taken for an enemy unit, subtract 1 from the combat attrition test.
Our classic leadership manipulators. Or morale phase manipulator.
Enhanced Aether Sails for 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your movement phase when a Raider or Ravager unit from your army is selected to advance. Do not make an advance roll. Instead, until the end of that phase, add 8 inches to the move characteristic of this model.
Nice. How many points?
1.
Dope.
Okay, this is my favorite one. Crucible of Malediction for 2 CP.
This is
use this stratagem. Yeah, use this stratagem in your psychic phase. Select 1 homunculus unit from your army and roll 1d6 for each enemy psyker unit within 12 inches of it. For each roll of a 4, that psyker unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, and you can only use it 1 time.
Oh yeah. This has always been in their codex in some capacity.
Yeah.
It just makes me so happy because
that hurts.
Yeah,
it hurts.
Like, oh, how many Grey Knight units are within this homunculus is 12 inches?
I had the last codex interaction of this happened to me a lot of times when I was playing that Demon Prince spam. Be like, reveal a crucifix. I'm like, so many mortal wounds, so many models.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I also like my homunculus coven, so it's fun for me. All right, Haywire Grenade. 1 CP. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase when a Drukhari Haywire Grenade unit from your army is selected to shoot. Select one model in that unit. That model can only make one attack this phase and must target an enemy vehicle unit within 6 inches. But if a hit is scored, that vehicle unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends.
Stack some mortals on top.
Hyperstim Backlash, 2 CP. Use a stratagem in your command phase. Select one Witch Cult's unit with the combat drugs ability from your army. Until your next command phase, each effect of the combat drugs ability on that unit is doubled. I.e., if the unit is affected by Painbringer, add 2 to the toughness characteristic of models affected by that combat drug instead of 1. A model with the file Boucher relic cannot be selected for this stratagem.
Assume there's a similar interaction there. Makes sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because there's a lot of dope combat drugs like +1 strength, +1 to hit, number of things.
And how many CP was that?
It's 2 CP, and it's the name is weird. It's like Hyperstim Backlash. Like you would think there's like a negative aspect to it, but there isn't. Like it's just a bonus for a turn.
K.R. Quinn, thank you for bringing that up. He's like, makes me wonder if Haywire turns into a strat for Harleys.
Ooh,
I am kind of feeling that way. The second I was like, Haywire.
If they take away the vehicle fund police, I would be so happy.
Let me ask you a question. Is, they have Haywire cannons in the Dark Eldar Codex. Do they still?
I'd have to, let me scroll all the way
That's
down.
kind of an important question because I'm like,
what can even take Haywire grenades?
Talos used to be able to take Haywire guns. Remember? It's pretty common configuration for a lot of people who were spamming Talos back in the day.
Let me see. Incubi, nope.
I'd like to see if we can possibly predict the future.
Nope.
We have we have pictures of this.
Yeah. So I have to go down. Just kind of going through it. So Drukhari Haywire Blaster on the Talos, 24-inch range, heavy D3. Strength 3, -3, D3 damage, blast. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if the target is a vehicle unit, an unmodified wound roll of 4 is always successful, and an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts D3 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any normal damage.
All right, so they still have Haywire. It's not on a 4-up, though. It's only on a 6-up. But
is that flipped from the way that the...
Well, it used to be on a 4-up, and then if you rolled the 6, it just D3, right?
Okay.
So one of the predictions we had was that they would lose the wound on a 4-up and do mortal wounds, and it'd only keep the 6 version of it. So they always wound on a 4, but it seems like they might only 6s would do mortal wounds, but it's not. But it's the D3. It's the good word.
Yeah, and it specifically says Haywire Grenade. So we'd have to look. I'm assuming that's going to be like an infantry unit that has Haywire grenades.
Well, the stratagem is Haywire grenade, right?
Let me scroll all the way back up. This book is stupid, and I hate the way it's laid out. No. Okay, so it says when a Drukhari Haywire grenade, and that's all bold. So that's what it's talking. So the weapon is a Haywire grenade. That's the only thing it works on. So then the question becomes, what can take Haywire grenades?
It's probably a lot of things. That's a pretty common Dark Eldar weapon.
Let's see. I mean, I'm just scrolling through not on the Archon, in the Succubus. Nope. So none of the HQs.
Witches?
Cabalites. So they have a Phantasm grenade launcher. Okay. Nope. No, not on Cabalites. Witches. They have plasma grenades and phantasm grenades. Nope. So, Rex. Nope. Nope, not on them. Court of the Archon? Nope. Incubi?
Witches?
Nope. Huh? I just looked at witches. They don't have Haywire grenade in their data sheet.
Nobody has it. Got it.
I'm just like, what? What actually has Haywire grenades in this codex? Like, there's all the beast units, Reavers. So they come with not Reavers. They have cluster caltrops and graph talons. No. Hellions. No, they have splinter pods and hellglaives. Phantasm grenade. No.
The Trueborn upgrade.
Plasma grenades for scourges. What the fuck? Like, what is this for? I don't understand. Like, none of these data sheets have
HQs. Maybe
I looked at the HQs. Like, none of them have Haywire grenade listed in their like weapon stuff because they have like all the weapons you can equip and their profiles of what they can take.
Local Raven says, I think Haywire grenades used to work for plasma grenades that witches have. So secondary profile.
What? Like no, because I'm like looking. So it's like witches. That's a succubus. Where's witches? Witches. Okay, so. Oh, okay. It's a faction keyword. They changed it to a faction keyword. Haywire grenade. But haywire grenades are not a piece of war gear they can take.
Interesting.
That is so weird. Why would they do that?
So it's a keyword, not an actual weapon.
Yeah, and it doesn't say it doesn't say grenade unit. It just says Drukhari haywire grenade. So
if you throw a grenade and you have that keyword haywire grenade, you can use this stratagem, I guess, is what I'm extrapolating here.
I get maybe it's like smoke screen, like the way they worded.
Somebody in chat just said that. Is it like how smoke launches work? Somebody just made that correlation.
Okay, I guess so.
So I think the interesting thing that came out of the side quest is that they did change the way haywire guns work. At least we can see here it's not as prolific. Like it's
and so like I haven't looked at a Drukhari codex since like the first couple months of 2018. So. It's entirely possible that like witches had haywire grenades as a piece of war gear, right? And so you would have like 20 witches and like haywire grenade or whatever. But okay, now this makes a lot of sense. I did not think that it would be a faction keyword on their data sheet. I thought it was a weapon.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sure that this would all make more sense if this was all Marine lingo, and I would instantly pick up on it, but.
Yeah.
But I do think the writing's on the wall. I do think that like the haywire cannons that we're seeing from the Harlequins, are probably going to only trigger their haywire in 6s.
Right, because I think the way it works now is like the 5s and 6s wound, but a 4-up, like a natural 4-up, is what causes the.
So they always went on the 4.
So the roll of a
That's the problem with them. Is like
I don't know.
They hit a 4, it's a mortal wound, and no matter what the toughness they're engaging with, is they're wounding out a 4. And so
no, but only one of the because they don't get mortal wounds on all of it. It's only the natural roll of a 4. I think is how it works.
Yeah. Well, no, it's 4 through 5, 4 through 6, like all the way up on a 4+. On an unmodified roll of 4+, that's why they're so deadly.
Because when I played Harlequins at Clutch City, it didn't work like that, or maybe I'm misremembering it. But I'm gonna look at the
4+ mortal, 6 does D3.
Okay, so if a target is a vehicle and you roll a wound of a 4-up for this weapon, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any other damage. If the wound roll is a 6, so it's the 6 that causes the additional ones, but the 4-up.
That's the problem. Is therefore it always wounds on a 4, no matter what toughness is.
So the haywire blaster for the Talos is different.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Is so we have a difference now. So they've taken away the into haywire blaster for the Talos used to be that too on 4s. Mm-hmm. So they have changed haywire. It is no longer going to 4, 5, or 6, only the 6, but they kept a good version of it, where it's a D3 when you hit that 6. The problem right now in the game is technically you can reroll successful wounds and hits. Because we don't have that wording we used to have where it's like reroll fails. So you can still crit fish, right? If you want to sacrifice that bucket of 4, 5s, and 4s through 5s to try to get more 6s, which you would do. But I can see an FAQ coming down the pipe where they're like, you can't reroll successes, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
but it is a change. It does remove 66% of the mortal wounds. Right there. That's huge.
So we've got two more stratagems. So we have Shock Prow. Uses stratagem in the charge phase when a Drukhari Shock Prow unit from your army finishes a charge move. Select one enemy unit within engagement range of that Shock Prow unit. If the selected enemy unit is a vehicle, roll 1d6. On a 2+, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the selected enemy unit is not a vehicle, roll 1d6 for each model in that enemy unit that is within engagement range of the shock prow unit. For each dice result that equals or exceeds that enemy's toughness characteristic, it suffers 1 mortal wound.
The old shock prow on the Raider.
Yeah, so shock prows are actually like pretty baller.
Yeah, Raiders can actually fuck around in close combat. It's interesting.
Yeah, and so like, because I forget what it used to be, but it was sort of like you wouldn't actually spend the upgrade on it. But now it's like whenever you make a charge with this vehicle, which is something you might want to do to like block Overwatch or
charging with vehicles, real powerful in a game of holding objectives and playing football, you know?
Yeah, and so now it's just like, ooh, that hurts, especially those infantry guys, you know, because especially if you like slide it in Blues Brothers style, where it's like, oh, look at that, like 15 of your orc models are within engagement range of my boat now. Here's like all these mortal wounds. Like that's pretty cool. Last one is potent metallotoxins, 2 CP. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase or the fight phase when you select a Drukhari unit from your army to shoot or fight. Until the end of that phase, each time an attack is made with a poisoned weapon, excluding relics, by that unit, that ability does not... Oh my gosh, this is worded so weird. Okay. Each time an attack is made by a poisoned weapon, excluding relics, by that unit, that ability does not exclude vehicle units, though it does still exclude Titanic units.
So poison works against tanks. God damn, just say that. Fucking
this. It's just like as I was reading it, like the way that they worded
I see
it.
that. You had to change your inflection for me to understand what the fuck you were saying. Then the other day, you're like, poison work against tank. Got it. It's like, what the fuck?
Which is actually like, this is an exceptionally good stratagem because so much of our stuff has poison weapon, but it excludes vehicles. So now it's like, oh, your toughness 8 tank, like I wounded on 2s or 3s.
Well, sorry, because he put it in quotations. It's like poison work on tanks, bro. It's a quotation. It's like, come on, G-dubs.
Make tank sake.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we just want to read the stratagems today because there's so much to go over, you know, and it's
so much stuff.
It's not always easy to just, you know, always hear rules, but like it's like some of the meat and potatoes of an army is going to be the
I mean, like there's like dope warlord traits, there's dope relics, like there's units that are like good now. So much fun stuff. Me and
Wyatt cracked out a little bit earlier today in our tactics discussion, and we will say that it's sick. A lot of units that you've always wanted to be able to play, but were utterly useless, are not. There's a lot of play. Just scanning through it with a light read, just barely acknowledging it while I'm listening to Wyatt tell me how good things are. I'm like, that's cool. That's cool. Oh my God, you're right. I would play so many of these things.
Yeah. So I think like the like on the surface, the biggest takeaway I have from this codex is I am spoiled for choice. And
yes,
it's cool because like so many things in the Dark Eldar Codex are points cheap. But some stuff isn't. But it's like I want to take all of this stuff, but you do kind of have to pick and choose because you can't have everything. You can have most of it, which is really neat. And then like sort of a quick like on the surface kind of thing. I'd say like the biggest loser is Rax, and the biggest winner is probably Witch Cults.
Nice. I like hearing that.
Big one from
Witch Cult.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you guys haven't already bought Raiders, Ravagers, Venoms, Hellions, and Reavers, like good luck finding them because those shits are harder to find than Blood Diamonds right now.
Yo, Mike, but this is on a personal note. Mandrakes. I've always wanted them. They're always sick. Their fluff is dope, right?
Mandrakes.
And they're highly usable. Like they're like we finally have a unit that like can scout deploy and like.
Oh, not only scout deploy, but you can pick them up and redeploy them in a deep strike.
They get once per game, like leave the battle, like fade into the darkness, and then you can put them back the next turn. And there's no restriction on like as long as they're not with engagement range. You can literally have like mandrakes, like scout deploy an objective, get fucked up. They charge you, beat you down to one guy, and you're like fade to the shadows, bitch, and one guy gone. And
you should have to yell smoke bomb.
It's actually in the rules. It says that.
Smoke out.
It actually has keyword, faction keyword, smoke bomb, and there's no. It doesn't tell you what it's for, but like you know what it's for.
So like smoke bomb is like it's a ninja tactic. We got to remember like Dark Eldar are evil, so it's probably like pocket sand, Like they're throwing sand in your eyes.
Pocket sand in your eyes. No.
Oh, it's gritty and it gets everywhere. I hate it.
They have their little energy Hadouken attack. It's like
So like super quick combo. If you take Blades for Hire units in a Cabal of the Black Heart, it specifically lets those Blades for Hire use the Black Heart Obsession. Yeah. And one of those is that if you have power from Pain, it counts as one turn higher. And turn 2 is you can advance and charge. So you can scout deploy with Mandrakes. They can move assault or move advance and then assault on turn 1.
Yeah. So you can like tie up some tanks in the cut, get to a place that they don't want you to be and like take their objective. Then they beat you up and you fade into the shadows. Like
they're not
killers.
Superb. Like, they're not great, but like they can fuck up some infantry, like some light infantry, or they can like
they play the objective game
some stuff
very well. And so that makes me happy because I've always wanted them and they just never usable. And now the codex looks sick, man. Units look sick.
Yep.
No, you yelled pocket Sam. That's right. All right. Well, I think we covered it. What into the strategies?
Before we dip out of here, we actually have a question in the chat that I actually know the answer to. Simon Kalajiev asked, do we know which generals in history played something similar to a tabletop war game to enhance their strategy skills and to plan out their battles? He enhances the question by saying we always see in movies that they lay out tokens onto a map in a headquarters tent before the battle. But do we know if they did that? And do we know if they had a system of general rules, specific rules, dice, etc.? So I do know a really good answer to that, and I'm going to just cover it very, very quickly because this could be like an hour or 2 hour long podcast.
Yeah,
in and of itself, right? So very, very quickly, there is such a system like that. When you generally see people in a movie or a reenactment or whatever laying out parts, they are not playing a war game. They're just laying out the positions that the known positions. And so it's just basically like if you were playing football and you go, hey, I need you to go flank right or flank left or whatever. So they're laying out the positions. They're not wargaming it. They're just going, we know that over the hill, Longstreet has his regiment over here and they're going to be coming this way. And meanwhile, Hood is over here. And, that's what they know. And keep in mind that they're reconnoitering with cavalry and with, telescopes and stuff. So they're just trying to figure out what they know. The earliest war games that we would call war games with like unit specific rules, go back to, a game that came out of India. I don't remember the name of it right now, but basically that turned into chess. And when it went over to China, it became Go. When it reached Japan, it is a game called Shoge. But it is,
they also play Go in Japan as well.
Yeah, but they're all kind of the similar kind of things. There are unit specific rules that do different things like that and everything. But other than like, they weren't used as battle simulations other than like training your officers, and your forces that are going to be leaders, right? To think strategically and tactically. That's what they're used for. Then you start to get in the late 1700s, around 1780, 1790, this guy named Helwig, creates a game that we would recognize as a tabletop war game. Like, infantry moves 6, it's on a grid square, infantry moves 6, cavalry move 12, that kind of thing. Right. But it really reaches its heyday after Napoleon in the Prussian military academies with a game called Kriegspiel. And, it uses specialized dice. You can still get Kriegspiel. There are places that the rules have been made that you're able to get the rules. The dice are the hardest thing to get. Kriegspiel was played with a referee. So you had people on both sides, and these are actually made to simulate battles. Yeah. So that if they know that, hey, we might be going up against, France or something. And this is what the Prussian army has. This is what we know the French units are. We can actually run a simulation of Kriegspiel. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Kriegspiel was still being used at Sandhurst And now it might be just in a wargaming club. It might not be it might not be like, a formal thing, but I can say that at the Air Force Academy, at least while I was there, we still did war games. There was actually, in our military arts and sciences class, we did war games. Now they were way more elaborate than that. And it took like a half a semester to play out because you had to build up forces and everything. If you want to see kind of what it was like, there is actually a game on Steam that is really, really expensive. It's like Command, something like that. It looks like Blue Force Tracker, but it's very complex. But basically, the game you're looking for that you're asking about is Kriegspiel, and that was actually used in Prussian military academies. It was later brought over as the American Kriegspiel to the U.S. And then all that, what Kriegspiel is like very down in the weeds, very, very crunchy.
Oh, it's so dense. I have a buddy here locally, and his job until very recently was to actually design war games for the military, for the DoD. He owns a copy of Kriegspiel with some dice, and I got through like 3 pages and I was like, this is like the J.R. Tolkien level of dense.
It's the Silmarillion.
Yes, it really is.
Tabletop war games.
It is mind boggling how dense it is.
So along comes H.G. Wells, who knows about Kriegspiel, but he's got these little pop cannons that shoot little bits of cork. And that sounds like way more fun, right? So he creates a game called Little Wars, and you can find this all over the place. Now, if you read Little Wars, and I highly encourage you to read Little Wars, you will see a direct lineage to Warhammer 40K. Only they're using coins, it's like 50-50 on everything. They're not really using dice. And then they're actually shooting little lead units with these pop gun cannons, and whatever the cannons hit is basically dead. But if you read Little Wars, it's played on the floor, actually. And there were some pretty big names that are heavily involved. I mean, obviously H.G. Wells creates it. Trying to think of Peter Cushing is probably one of the most famous people that played Little Wars. There's a famous, if you go and look on YouTube for a Pash video, they have a video of Peter Cushing painting and playing Little Wars with miniatures made out of crushed paper, which is bonkers, right? Yeah. If you think about that, you're not buying these. They would buy a little press and then put, like paper mache mixture in there and press it. And then that unit that would come out, that's what you played with. You painted that and played with it. So these aren't even
3D printing, dog.
Yeah.
So we gotta end that with a super deep cut, and that is the rest of the story.
Yes. So I could go on, but that's probably a good place to end it.
I wonder how many people will get that reference.
Well, fuck it. We're done. We don't have, I can't fucking give Rob shit. So, Mike, I'm sure you have something epic prepared for us to take us out.
If taking you in is an option, I would much prefer that to the alternative.